lesson 6.6. We're going to find an equation for a line given just 2 points on the line. So again, reiterating, we've done this before. If you know what m is and you know what b is, you can write the equation of a line. If you know what m is and you know it goes through a certain point, takes a little bit more work, but you can figure out the equation of a line. Now, you're not going to be given m, you're going to just be given 2 points. Something like that. Okay? And now you're going to need to be able to determine the equation of a line based on that. What information are we missing in this situation?
B.
We're missing b,
And the slope.
and we're missing m. Now,
We can figure those out.
Y equals.
which one can you figure out?
Both of them.
M, how can you figure out m?
Y2 minus Y1.
y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then all of a sudden, it looks like this problem, which you already know how to do. You'll have m, and you'll actually have 2 points, of which you'll only need to use 1. Because you can actually solve this one, which only has 1 point. Right? And you sub it in and you carry on from there. Which point would you use if you had the choice?
2 over 1.
I'd use this one. Could you use this one? Yep, because if they're on the line, they satisfy the equation.
You know, Mr. V.
Okay?
Why can't you
A really
take
good question was asked. Mr. V, couldn't I just plot these 2 points on my graph and then draw a line through? If the question was to graph it, yes. If the question is to develop an equation of a line, no. So you say, well, can't I just graph it and then look to see where my y-intercept was and what my slope is and develop the equation that way? No. You may not trust your graph. Okay? You cannot trust your graph. You need to get a perfect answer, a perfect equation of a line. Why? Because we're building on this to be able to do more things with that equation of a line. And if you don't have it perfect, including like decimals and all that, then you won't be able to do the next steps of things. So we're learning how to do it algebraically, because algebra will always get us the exact answer. Okay, I'm going to restate a little bit of what we just talked about. Look at the top of page 22. If you know 2 points that are on a line, you do not immediately have enough information to develop an equation for that line. What do you have enough information to figure out?
Slope.
We could find the slope, okay? And after we have the slope, then we can use the slope and 1 point to find the y-intercept, which is b, and then we can sub those in and write our equation. So here's a couple notes. This is going to be really straightforward. It's in steps, okay? So if you know 2 points on a line, comma, you can determine an equation for the line.
Guys, it's right there.
Okay? Quick. What do we... Why... Hey, trivia. Why does it say you can determine an equation? Why doesn't it say the
Because
equation?
there's multiple.
Because I can write the same line using different equations. Okay? Equivalent equations. So here we go. Step 1. Step 1. Yeah, take the notes. Find the slope. Okay, step 1. Find the slope. How do I do that? Good. Substitute the 2 known points into m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Step 2. What's step 2? We have the slope. Find the y-intercept. How?
By setting the x at 0.
We that will still leave us two variables in the equation, in which case we wouldn't be able to solve for b. Remember, we know 2 points already. So we're going to substitute the slope, m, and one known point into, and actually let's do this so that you remember, one known point, which is denoted x, y, so that's the coordinates, x and y that match together, that are on the line, that satisfy the equation. Substitute the slope m, which you just found out in step 1, in one of the known points, which they give you in the question, into y equals mx plus b, and solve for b. Step 3. Step 3 is simply write the equation. How? Well, you now know slope, you know m, and you know b. So substitute the slope, m, and the y-intercept, b, into y equals mx plus b. Okay, go ahead and take a second to reread those notes. Memorize those 3 steps. You're going to be using those 3 steps over and over and over again, keeping your notes, your work organized so that you know where the bits and pieces are. You solve for m, good, put a box around it. Use that to solve for b, good, put a box around it. Use that to develop your new equation, good, put a box around it. Okay? Okay, please commit that to memory. Here comes 2 examples, okay? We're finding an equation for a line, being given 2 points. We're simply going to follow the steps that we took notes on. So A is going through 1, 2, and 5, 10, okay? Step 1. What is it? Good. Find the slope. Okay? So, m equals y2 over y1, minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It doesn't matter which point is the 1s and which point is the 2 as long as you're consistent, okay? So let's say this is x2, y2, and this is x1, y1. And I can sub those in. 10 minus 2 in the numerator. 5 minus 1 in the denominator gives me a slope of 8 over 4, which is
2.
just 2. Step 2. Step 2, find y-int, which is b. So all I have to do is take my y equals mx plus b, sub in what I know. I know that one of the points is 1, 2, and the other point that I know for sure is 5, 10. Both of these sets of coordinates will satisfy the equation. So it doesn't matter which one I use. I'll get the exact same b. No, this is a point and this is a point. There are only 2 points. So you're going to use one of the points. So 1 matches with 2 and 5 matches with 10. I cannot sub in 1 and 10. I cannot sub in 2 and 5. Okay, I can't sub in 1 and 5, and I can't sub in 2 and 10.
Yeah.
I can sub in 1 and 2. And I can sub in m. So here we go. Y is 2. M is 2. x is 1 and b is still unknown. But now I can solve for b.
Why did you make y and m 2? I thought it's just y is m.
M is 2,
Oh,
y is 2. Not related, not coming from the
Okay, I
same
got it.
place. Okay, totally different things. Good. This just means when x is 1, y is 2. So when I'm in my equation, I can do this in 2 steps for you, and I have slope, but I don't know b, I know for sure that when x is 1, y will be 2. It says so right there. Whenever x is 1, y will be 2. So then I can sub those things in. Now I can solve for b. 2 times 1 is 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. B equals 0.
Which is just as important.
Step 3. Step 3. Right? Equation. So I know I'm in y equals mx plus b. I know what m is, it's 2. And I know b is 0. So I'm done.
You don't have to sub them for x or y.
An equation will have x and y in it. 2 variables relating to each other. Okay, the equation of a line.
If you're writing the equation, don't you have to put the m and the b in?
I did put the b in. B is 0. 2x plus 0 is 2x. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's do part B of that example. Start up here. In B, we're given the points -3, -2, and 6, -8. And we are to develop the unequation of the line that goes through these 2 points. Now this one's a little bit trickier just because there's negatives in the coordinates that are given, okay? All that means is that when we're doing our formula for slope and are subbing it into y equals mx plus b, it just means that we have to be careful. I'm not going to write the steps this time, but what is step 1?
Putting in y2 minus y1 form.
Okay, find the slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Sub in my points. It does not matter which is which. I've got y2, I'm going to use -8, minus y1. Look at how I wrote that. Okay? y2 minus y1. You can see what's going to happen there. The next one is x2 minus x1. So now as I'm reducing this, I have -8 plus 2, which is -6 in my numerator. And I have 6 plus 3, which is 9 in my denominator. Now I need to reduce that. It becomes -2 over 3. So my slope, again, you always like to finish off by writing it in this simplified form with the m equals in front of it. And now you know that part is done, ready to be used for something else. Ready to be used in step 2, which is
By
by
Do y or ymx plus b.
and subbing in your slope, which you know, and setting in one set of coordinates because each of them satisfies the equation. Which one would you like to use here?
Yeah.
No, negative 2.
No,
negative
negative
2.
Hey,
It's all negative.
I would always choose the smaller numbers, but another reason that I'm going to choose this one is because you'll see once I write it.
They're both negative.
So if you
Well, there's a
positive.
3 in the numerator and a 3 in the denominator. So they're just going to cancel out. And the y that matches it is -2. Okay, so right here, I've got a negative times a negative. So I know I'm going to have a positive. And I've got 2 times 3 divided by 3. So these guys are just going to cancel out, and the negatives are going to cancel out, and we're just left with +2. Now, be careful again. I have to subtract 2 from both sides. On the right, it just leaves me with b. But on the left, think about it before calling it out.
Wait, can you show your what? Wait.
You want me to show that I'm subtracting 2 from here and subtracting 2 from here. -4. Put a box around that so that I know it's good to go, good to use for the next step. And what is the next step? Just write the equation with the things in it that you know. M is -2/3 and B is -4.
Good.
Put a box around it. There you go. You could graph that if you needed to. Really the key here is remembering the 3 steps. Yesterday only involved these 2 steps. Okay? So the only thing we added today is finding the slope,
But we already did that before.
which you've done in previous units. Okay? So you're just putting together things that you already know how to do. Let's take on these key concepts together. Key concepts. You can find an equation for a line if you know 2 points on the line. To find the equation, you first find the slope by substituting the 2 points into the slope formula, which is m equals, go ahead and use that line there as your division line, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then you're going to find the y-intercept by substituting the slope and one of the points into y equals mx plus b, and then solve for b. Then you're going to write the equation by substituting m and b into, you guys have got it. Practice problems are on that page as well, page 23. You can complete all of them, and I'll follow you through the first couple that you can do on your own, okay?